was around 1 in the morning, a foggy Sunday night, the kind where the world feels completely deserted. The kind of night where even your own headlights seem to get swallowed up by the mist. I was driving home after a long late shift, half awake, half lost in my thoughts. The only sounds were the hum of the heater and the soft hiss of my tires against wet asphalt. The GPS screen glowed faintly on the dashboard. Next turn, 40 miles away. No towns. No gas stations. Just empty roads stretching forever ahead. You ever get that eerie feeling while driving at night? That sense that the road is too quiet? Too still? Yeah, that's exactly how it felt. And by the way, if you're alone right now while listening to this, maybe turn a light on. Trust me, you'll want to. And make sure you stay with me till the end, because what happened that night still gives me chills whenever I drive past that stretch of highway. About 20 minutes into that lonely drive, I saw something. At first, I thought my tired eyes were playing tricks on me. There was someone walking along the side of the road. A woman, pale, wearing a long white dress that fluttered lightly in the fog. She wasn't hitchhiking, not waving or signaling for help. She was just walking, slowly, head tilted down. I slowed down instinctively. It was freezing out there. Who would be walking this late at night, miles from anywhere? As I got closer, my headlights illuminated her figure, and then, right before I could reach her, she vanished. Completely gone. 1 second she was there, the next nothing but swirling mist. My stomach tightened. I blinked hard, leaned forward, scanning the road, but she wasn't there anymore. The shoulder was empty. I laughed nervously to myself. "You're tired," I muttered. "You're just tired." But still, that image of her stayed in my head. The dress, the way she didn't look up. I tried turning the radio back on, hoping for some noise to drown the silence. But all that came through was static. Sharp, distorted, loud static. The lights on the dash flickered. Then my headlights dimmed for half a second, just enough to send a jolt through me. Something was off. I could feel it. I glanced up at the rearview mirror, and I swear I saw movement. Something white flickering behind the car. There one moment, gone the next. Goosebumps ran down my arms. Up ahead, a weather-beaten road sign appeared through the fog. Route 57. The paint was faded. Rust streaked down the metal like dried blood. I tried to shake the feeling. Maybe I'd just imagined it. Maybe it was a trick of the fog, or my headlights catching something reflective. But then, my phone buzzed in my lap. A sudden ping. I looked down. No service. That didn't make sense. I'd had full bars just 10 minutes ago. I looked back at the road, and that's when I saw her again. She was standing in the middle of my lane. The same woman. Head still down, her hair hanging wet across her face. I slammed the brakes, hard. The tires screeched, the car fishtailed. For a second, everything blurred, and then I stopped. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. But when I looked up, she was gone. No one was there. Just fog. Endless, gray fog. I stepped out slowly, flashlight in hand. My breath came out in thick clouds as I scanned the road. That's when I noticed them. Faint, wet footprints leading off the asphalt, disappearing into the woods. The forest beyond was pitch black. Silent. No wind. No insects. Not even the distant hum of cars. Just nothing. "Hello," I called out, voice trembling. "Do you need help?" Silence. Every instinct screamed at me to get back in the car. And I did. But as soon as I shut the door, I froze. There was a wet handprint on the rear passenger window. Fresh. Clear. The streaks of water still sliding down the glass. I stared at it, my pulse racing. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Then movement in the mirror. She was there. In the back seat. Her face pale as chalk. Eyes wide open. Lips moving silently as if whispering. Before I could even process it, the engine roared on by itself. The headlights flickered violently, flashing between brightness and darkness. The car lurched forward, and I floored the gas, speeding down the highway as fast as I could. I didn't dare look in the mirror again. I just drove, mile after mile, until I saw the faint orange glow of a gas station sign up ahead. When I finally pulled in, I was shaking so bad I could barely open the door. Inside, the clerk looked up, startled. "Hey, you okay, man?" he asked. I must have looked pale because I could barely form words. "There was someone on the road," I said. "A woman. In white." The clerk's expression changed instantly. "You didn't stop, did you?" he asked quietly. I frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked toward the fog outside, voice dropping low. "That stretch, Route 57, you shouldn't have stopped. They say a woman drowned off the bridge there years ago. Late-night drivers keep seeing her walking the road, asking for help. No one ever found her body." I didn't know what to say. I stepped back outside, needing air. The night was still. The fog had started to thin, and for the first time, I felt the cold bite against my skin. I looked at my car, and my heart sank. The handprint was still there, but this time, it was drying, slowly fading into nothing. I stood there for a long time watching that mark disappear. The clerk came out and shook his head. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the lonely roads remember who died on them." I drove the rest of the way home with every light in my car turned on. Didn't play music. Didn't check the mirrors. And every time I pass that road now, I make sure to keep driving, no matter what I see. Because maybe, just maybe, she's still waiting for someone who'll finally stop. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. But trust me, the next two stories get even darker. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and stay till the end, because what you're about to hear next might just make you think twice about taking that late-night drive alone. You ever take one of those long, overnight drives where the road feels endless, like you're the only person left awake in the world? That was me. Around 2:30 in the morning, halfway through a cross-country drive to visit family. I'd been behind the wheel for hours. The coffee cup in my console was empty, my phone battery blinking red, and my eyelids felt heavier every minute. The highway stretched out like a ribbon of black glass, lined with tall pine trees on both sides. No houses, no signs of life. Just me, my headlights, and the low rumble of my engine. Then I saw it, a faded green sign glowing in the high beams. "Rest stop, 1 mile." Finally, a break. I decided to pull in, just for a quick nap before sunrise. The place looked ancient. A cracked asphalt lot with a small restroom building and 2 vending machines humming under a flickering yellow light. One bulb kept buzzing like a trapped fly, throwing weird shadows across the pavement. There were no other cars. No sound except the faint whistle of wind through the pines. But I was too tired to care. And hey, if you're watching this right now, don't go anywhere. This story gets darker than you'd think. You might even think twice before stopping at a rest area again. I parked close to the restroom building, locked my doors, and reclined the seat. My plan was simple: 15 minutes of shut-eye, then back on the road. First, everything was quiet, peaceful even, but then I heard it. Faint crunching, like footsteps on gravel. My eyes shot open. I sat up and looked around. Nothing. The noise stopped. Maybe it was just an animal. Maybe the wind. I sank back down, heart still racing a bit. But just as I started to relax, I heard it again. Closer this time. Crunch. Crunch. I quickly glanced at the side mirror. Still nothing. The silence returned. Then a soft tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from my window. I sat perfectly still, trying to convince myself I was dreaming. Slowly, I turned my head toward the glass. But there was no one there. Just the dark outline of trees and the vending machines humming quietly. "Get it together," I whispered to myself. "You're just tired." But then I heard something else. A whisper, so faint I almost didn't catch it. Came from right outside my door. "You shouldn't stop here." My blood ran cold. The voice was low, raspy, like someone forcing air through dry lungs. I froze, gripping the steering wheel. My instincts screamed, "Don't look." Without thinking, I reached up and turned off the car's interior light. The darkness wrapped around me like a blanket. I ducked down below the window line, trying to make myself invisible. Through the fogged glass, I could barely see, But then I noticed movement. A tall figure walking slowly between cars. Except, there were no other cars. Just mine. Every nerve in my body screamed. I watched as the shadow moved past the vending machines, long arms swaying unnaturally. It disappeared behind the restroom building. That's when I made my move. I turned the key, but the engine didn't start. Click. Again click. The battery was fine earlier, but now it was completely dead. Come on! Come on! I whispered, frantically twisting the key. Nothing. Panic set in. My phone screen glowed faintly, 1% battery. And, of course, no service. That's when I saw it. A reflection in the rearview mirror. A face pressed against the back window. Pale, distorted, mouth hanging open as if gasping. I spun around, but it was gone. I didn't think. I just ran. I threw the door open, sprinted across the lot toward the restroom building, and slammed the door behind me. The fluorescent lights inside flickered weakly. The air smelled of mold and damp concrete. And then I saw the graffiti scrawled across the wall in red paint, or what I hoped was paint. "Don't let him see you." My heart pounded. I ducked into the far stall, closed the door, and crouched low. The silence was unbearable. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate, each one echoing off the tile floor. They stopped right outside the stall. I could see the shadow of feet through the thin gap under the door, just standing there. A hand brushed against the metal. Then the door creaked softly, as if being tested. I held my breath, hands shaking. I didn't even dare to blink. The light above flickered once, twice, then steadied. And suddenly, the footsteps started again, moving away. A loud truck horn blared outside, echoing through the night. It startled me so badly I almost screamed. I waited a few seconds, then cracked the stall door open. The restroom was empty. I bolted. Outside, a massive semi-truck had pulled into the lot. I sprinted toward it, waving my arms like a maniac. "Hey! Help! Please!" The driver rolled down his window, eyes wide. "Whoa! What's going on?" "There's someone here," I yelled. In the woods around the rest stop, I saw someone. He grabbed a flashlight and climbed down. Together, we searched the lot, behind the restroom, near the trees, even checked my car. Nothing. Not a single footprint. Just silence. The trucker frowned. "You sure you saw someone?" "I saw his face," I said, voice trembling. He exhaled heavily. "You picked the wrong place to nap, kid. They say a killer used to hang around this rest stop back in the 90s. Took people off the highway. Some folks say he still does." I stared at him, trying to process it. "Come on," he said. "Follow me out of here. I'll stay ahead of you till we hit the next town." And that's exactly what I did. I followed that truck until daylight. The rising sun made everything feel normal again, almost like it never happened. But when I stopped later that morning at a diner, I decided to check something. My dashcam had been recording the whole night. I scrolled through the footage, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it all. For the most part, it was empty highway, flickering lights, fog, nothing unusual. Until I reached the moment just before I ran. One single frame made my blood turn to ice. There, in the corner of the screen, was a tall man standing right beside my car. His face completely blank. His eyes pitch black. The frame lasted less than a second before the feed cut out. So now, whenever I drive long distances and see a sign for a rest stop at night, I just keep going. And maybe you should too, because some places they're not meant for rest. They're meant for something else. If you're still here, you're one of the brave ones. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because the final story coming up is the creepiest one yet. You'll want to watch till the end. Trust me, you won't forget what happens on Highway 9. It was just past midnight when I left the small diner off Highway 9. The air outside was cool, the kind that smells faintly of rain and earth. I had a long drive home ahead of me, about 40 miles through open farmland. That stretch of Highway 9 was always empty at night. No traffic lights, no houses, no gas stations for miles. Just 2 lanes cutting through endless fields. I rolled the window halfway down and let the wind in. The road hummed under my tires, and a soft song played on the radio. It was peaceful, the kind of silence you forget you need sometimes. About 20 minutes in, I noticed a faint pair of headlights appear behind me. Nothing strange, it was a highway after all. But what caught my attention was how quickly they gained on me. Within seconds, the lights were glaring in my mirrors, flooding the inside of my car with white. The vehicle behind me, a black pickup truck, stayed right on my bumper. It was close enough that I could barely see its hood. I tapped my brakes lightly, hoping the driver would back off. Instead, they flashed their high beams. Once, twice, then again. I frowned and moved over slightly to the shoulder, signaling for them to pass. They didn't. They just stayed behind me, matching my every move. After a few minutes of this, they suddenly sped up, swerved into the oncoming lane, and pulled up beside me. The windows were completely tinted. I couldn't see a thing inside. The truck lingered there, pacing me, headlights off now, just the shadow of the vehicle moving alongside mine. Then, just as quickly, it slowed back down and tucked in behind me again. I told myself it was probably some drunk driver playing around. But the unease had already sunk in. My pulse quickened as I glanced at the clock. 12:47 a.m. The truck backed off for a bit, and I exhaled. Maybe it was over. But when I turned onto a smaller county road that led toward my town, the headlights appeared again, following the exact same turn. That's when I knew it wasn't a coincidence. This new road was narrower and rougher, surrounded by cornfields that stretched endlessly into the dark. I couldn't see a single light from a house. I sped up slightly, but so did the truck. Every curve, every turn, it stayed close, sometimes dropping back, sometimes racing forward again like it was testing me. Then I saw it, an old service station up ahead, the kind that looked abandoned decades ago. A single flickering bulb above the sign cast a pale yellow light over the cracked pavement. I decided to pull in, thinking maybe if I stopped, the truck would just pass. I pulled into the lot and parked under the light. My engine idled quietly. For a moment, the road was empty again. The truck didn't appear. I waited 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Then the sound of an engine broke the silence. The black pickup rolled into view, slow and deliberate, and came to a stop right behind me. Its headlights stayed on for a moment, flooding the inside of my car, and then, without warning, they went off. Everything went dark. The only light now came from the flickering bulb above the gas station. My breathing was loud inside the car. I grabbed my phone, trying to dial 911, but the signal bars were empty. No service out here, of course. Then, I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate ones, crunching on the gravel behind my car. I froze. The footsteps stopped directly behind me. Then came 3 slow knocks. Tap, tap, tap. On the trunk. Couldn't breathe. My hands shook as I locked the doors, shifted into gear, and slammed my foot on the accelerator. The tires spun and threw gravel everywhere as I shot back onto the road. Behind me, the truck's headlights flared to life. Its engine roared like thunder. It was chasing me again. Faster this time. I pushed my car as hard as I could. The road twisted and turned through the dark farmland, and every time I checked my mirror, those headlights were right there, gaining. The horn blared, long and angry. Once, the truck rammed into the back of my car, jolting me forward. I almost lost control. I screamed, half in fear, half in rage, and kept driving. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. Every turn felt like it could be my last. Then, up ahead, I saw something that made me nearly cry with relief. Flashing red and blue lights. A police cruiser was parked on the shoulder near a small crossroads. I honked and flashed my headlights wildly, desperate for attention. The moment I did, the truck behind me suddenly swerved off the road. Not braking, not slowing, just cutting hard right into the field beside the highway. Dust exploded into the air, and the truck vanished into the tall corn, its lights blinking out in seconds. I slammed on my brakes and pulled up next to the cruiser. The officer stepped out immediately, hand on his holster, asking what was wrong. I was shaking as I explained. The truck, the chase, the knocking. He nodded slowly, told me to sit tight, and called it in. After a few minutes, he came back and said something that made my blood run cold. "You're not the first tonight," he said. "We've had a few reports. Drivers saying a black pickup's been following them down Highway 9. We sent a unit to check earlier but didn't find anything." He offered to escort me the rest of the way home. I agreed instantly, but before we left, I asked if they could check the dirt near the service station. Maybe there'd be tire marks or footprints. He nodded and radioed it in. A few minutes later, another officer reported back, "Only one set of tire tracks. Looks like just his vehicle." I didn't understand. That couldn't be right. I'd seen the truck. It hit me, chased me. When I finally made it home, I sat in my driveway for a long time before turning the car off. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been in that field, watching me. A few days later, an officer called me. They'd reviewed my dashcam footage. He said there was something strange, faint reflections of headlights in my rear window just like I described. But when they paused the video, there was no vehicle visible in the reflection itself. Nothing at all. He didn't say much after that. Just told me to take care and hung up. I've never driven Highway 9 again since that night. Sometimes, though, when I pass near the area during the day, I'll glance toward those open fields, and I swear I can still see faint tire marks cutting through the grass, disappearing into the distance. And every now and then, when I drive late at night on quiet roads, I catch a glimpse of headlights behind me, just for a second before they vanish again. And I always wonder, if I hadn't stopped at that service station, or if I hadn't seen that police car in time, would the black pickup have ever let me go?